Thanks and welcome to the 6:50 News with me, Kejang Henry Athimbi. Let's begin with headlines. Six-month-old baby died in a fatal accident following a head-on collision by two bikes in Bangante. That fatality occurred. The legal team of the journalist and former interims this morning. And of course, we are going to have updates of a crisis meeting between the Ministry of Post and Telecommunications and telecommunications operations in the country. Top stories.
Good evening and welcome to
Canal International.
And welcome to join me. I'm Kejang Henry before the news. A 6-month-old baby is known to have died in Bangante following an accident in which two bikes had a head-on collision. The baby was in the arms of the mother when the accident occurred. The mother is equally battling between life and death. Let's get the update with Morinti.
The accident occurred at a locality called Site Wambo in Bangante. The blood stains on the road tells of the gravity of the accident, which involved two motorcycles. According to eyewitnesses, the two bikes were on breakneck speed when they collided. One of the bikes was owned by a Form 4 student of Government Bilingual High School in Bangante, while the other had on board a woman with a 6-month-old baby. The baby died on the spot after the collision. Meantime, the mother of the baby was transported to the hospital in an unconscious state. She's battling between life and death. The two motorbike riders also sustained injuries and were transported to the emergency of the Bangante hospital. The accident is happening on the heels of another one that involved a truck and a pickup vehicle.
Hyacinth is standing by in Yaoundé, where he is participating in the crisis meeting between the Minister of Post and Telecommunications and telecommunications operators in the country. In fact, this comes following what has been considered 4 days of activation of phone flight mode to prevent or to crusade for a drop in the cost of telecommunications in the country. Hyacinth is there in Yaoundé. Hello, Hyacinth, with the updates.
good evening and welcome to the Ministry of Post and Telecommunication, where Minister Minette Libon Lilikeng is holding a very crucial meeting with post and telecommunication operators. We are talking here about Orange Cameroon, MTN Cameroon, Camtel, and other related stakeholders. As we all know, earlier this week, Cameroonians expressed their frustration over the high cost of post and telecommunications in Cameroon. Not only that, but with the numerous irregularities that still characterize the operations in Cameroon. We are talking here about internet operation, even calls, and most Cameroonians say all is still relatively high compared to other nations. And we have been here for over 2 hours 30 minutes. The meeting that started at about 3:30 p.m. is still ongoing, and journalists were deprived of entering the hall because they were told the meeting is strictly for stakeholders. And right now, the journalists are still waiting in their number impatiently for the decisions that will be coming out here. Many believe measures may be taken to make sure that they ameliorate the services in Cameroon, not only in terms of quality, but in terms of the cost, hoping that their aspirations of having low-cost services when it comes to post and telecommunications services will be met. Live from the Ministry of Post and Telecommunications, Hyacinth and Constant Cameroon.
Oh, great indeed, Hyacinth. Thanks. We'll be expecting updates from the meeting. And Cameroonians continue to press for better internet facilities as they launched what is known as a 4-day campaign to switch off their phone or either put them on a flight mode. This campaign, they say, is to force the telecommunications company to make sure they provide better services and drop the cost of it. Maureen D went downtown Douala to find out how these people have been coping for the past 4 days in the flight mode.
The campaign to press for better internet facility in Cameroon entered day 4 this April 27. It's 40 minutes to midday and Amadou is impatiently waiting to get his phone flying mode activated to permit him join other Cameroonians on the campaign to press on mobile telephone companies to drop exorbitant internet rates. Amadou is in his 4th day of pressing for this cause. Each time you get connected, immediately you start browsing, you run out of airtime. The advantages. I got frustrated a long time ago by the poor internet services, reason why I joined the campaign. The airtime I buy does not always correspond to the time usage. It's so vexing. I just had to join the campaign as a way of revindicating. The few Cameroonians we talked to say they are getting used to activating their flying mode for 2 hours in a day, time enough to spend on some other activities or leave the phone or computers on charge during the 2 hours. When activated in flying mode, I spend that time on some other businesses. I just bury myself in documents or books. I leave the phone on charge and focus on something else. I simply go back to the time when phones were not in existence. I simply act as in that era. I do something else. I forget about the phone for 2 hours. The flying mode campaign has pushed the government to react by convening a meeting with telecommunication companies.
And the former interim Secretary General of the Cameroon Football Federation, Parfait Siki Awono, has been granted bail this Thursday after 6 months in detention. After the bail, Parfait Siki said he is relieved and now will be able to defend his rights. Beatrice Nkamo reports.
A great day of joy, yes, for Parfait Siki, a free man this Thursday after almost half a year in detention. The former Secretary General of the Cameroon Football Federation. The journalist is happy to taste justice, to see justice of his country, and so the outburst of gratitude. I thank God who during this difficult time inspired me a lot. I thank my loved ones, my wife, children and family, my friends, my colleagues who have always been there. Such opportunity, not easy to come by, but Parfait Siki has been given temporary release and he is determined from his voice to handle it his way. The particularity is that now I can defend my right as a free man at equal chance with my accusers or accuser. Almost 6 months in detention for withholding administrative document of Feka Food with intention to falsify them. His College of Lawyers working with Article 218 of the Criminal Code question why the provisional detention of a public figure who is not persecuted for an offense or crime. It was barbaric and inequality, and we defend that with success at the control and instruction chamber who controlled well and set the pendulum on track. Day of victory for Parfait Siki, his lawyers, friends, colleagues of the press. Pictures like sound immortalized the day at the Center Court of Appeal.
About 285,000 Cameroonians families are bishops. They have condemned this abuse of rights, but then called on the citizens to make sure they are law-abiding and respect construction norms and Bogladis.
Opet Cecile Charlotte, a teacher by profession, and Somo Alphonse, a retired policeman, are both victims of dual forceful evictions in Bonadibong Douala. They were evicted in 2019 and 2022, respectively. They say they have practically lost all their property and have remained frustrated and handicapped ever since their houses were demolished.
Je me sens très très mal.
I feel very bad. After constructing a house twice, it was destroyed without notification. I lost all my official documents. I now live in a room with my 2 children and 10 other orphans.
J'ai tout perdu.
I have lost everything, all administrative documents. The only document left is my national identity card, which I was carrying in my purse the day the demolition took place. Thousands of other Cameroonians are in the same situation, homeless, jobless, frustrated, and without compensation or assistance after their houses were destroyed by greedy individuals or by the government for development purposes in many towns in the country. In a press briefing in Douala, April 27, 2023, the Catholic Church denounced such forced evictions that have left at least 285,000 families in Douala without shelter. The final report on forced evictions carried out in 2022 reveals the town of Douala alone registers 285,000 families abandoned in the streets, and this has political, legal, and economic consequences. This includes the difficulties encountered by victims in meeting human rights defenders. They are threatened, intimidated, arrested, and sometimes arbitrarily detained. It's an infringement on human rights which has serious consequences on the lives of children.
Les enfants, en effet, subissent des conséquences effroyables.
Children, on their part, are affected educationally, health-wise, morally, and this leaves them psychologically frustrated. Some have embraced illegal activities such as prostitution, forced marriages, rape, drug consumption, theft, and attacks. While calling on people of goodwill to mobilize and defend the rights of victims, the Catholic Church also cautioned the population to be careful against double land sales, another factor of evictions, to avoid future frustrations.
And the French ambassador to Cameroon has visited the president of the upper house of parliament. The French ambassador was speaking after an audience at the Senate. In fact, this meeting between the French ambassador and Nyat Masenji saluted the president of the Senate for his re-election at the upper house of parliament. Here is an excerpt of Chirumashan's visit.
The Senate is a very important institution here in Cameroon, an institution which is in charge of adopting the laws, but also to organize the decentralization, which is a very important process for this country due to the law of 2019. And France remain very, very in support of this process. We did a lot. We will do also a lot in the future. So we want to help each region in the decentralization process with the formation of the public administration, and the relationship between our cooperation and what the Senate could do in collaboration with us.
French ambassador speaking there after his meeting with the president of the upper house of parliament, Nat Difeji-Marcel. The Minister of Secondary Education, Professor Naluva Lyonga, and her colleagues of the Employment and Vocational Training, Issa Chiruma Bakari, as well as other members of government, have begun walking visit to Douala to engage all stakeholders in the rollout of the secondary education and skills that is geared at reforming the educational system of the country. On aerospace technology, as Sheriff Asala reports.
These young Cameroonians have learned the fundamentals of the concept of the satellite and space missions. They are the first young Cameroonians to undergo such quality and skill training.
It's not just about the content of the training, as I said, but what we developed, each of us, is that it changed the way we saw things.
It's a sector that brings together a number of very high skilled in aerospace, telecommunications, network security, software engineering, and physical math. Machines and satellites are designed with second chances are not needed to improve what has been done. It is therefore an area that requires rigorous training.
This group of students can sit at the table with any engineer on earth, any aerospace engineer on earth.
We need a lot of data. Data can be used for studies and for improving our some sectors like agriculture, like health, education, and so on.
The training is organized in partnership with NMD. The goal of the partnership is to equip the laboratory that GFN High-Tech University Institution plans to create in the nearest future. Through this agreement, GFN High-Tech University Institution will have an aerospace training and certification laboratory.
Thank you very much, Sheriff Asala. Drawing the cuttings for this edition of the 650 News with me, Kejak and Ria Timbi. And of course, Leo Pijo will be coming in shortly after the news with Le Debrief, the actuality. From all of us, it's goodbye.